Perfect example. In our house, my dad, we had 4 kids within 5 years of each other, all right? So it's just a madhouse, fights nonstop. Well, my dad instituted a rule. Whenever 2 kids are fighting, nobody else can join in. You got to stay out of it, because otherwise the fight would escalate. Well, I'll never forget, I was like 18, 20 years old, and I'm having a discussion with my mom in the kitchen, and it's kind of heated, but my mom and I could have like deep, emotional conversations that might look to others like we're yelling and screaming, and we wouldn't yell and scream, but we had enough safety in the way we communicated that we didn't feel threatened by the other person. Well, my dad comes charging up the stairs, and he did this in part because if my mom ever felt emotionally weak, he had to take care of her, and he didn't want to do that. And so he's like, Kenneth, that's it, stop it. Stop arguing with your mother. And I'm telling you, like a little sheep, I mean, I literally got like this, and I was like, well, Dad, I'm confused. I thought you always said if 2 people were arguing or having a discussion that everybody's supposed to stay out of it. I don't want to hear it. Don't do that. Don't talk that way. You can't talk that way to your mother. Boom. There it is, just shutting it down. All right? They just won't allow that to happen. All right? And that's the equalizing. My dad's misbehavior, he puts it back on me. And that's what will happen when they do that. All right? Finally, we get to blackmail and character assassination. This gets diabolical. If none of the first 4 work, many times they move to this. This is where they threaten you. And many times they actually follow through on destroying your property, your friendships. They steal your money. They steal your kids, which is what happened to me. They turn those children against you. That's what mine did. They publicly out you. Mine created a blog of mostly false information. Some of it was true. I had to take ownership. Some of it was true, but most of it was false and not even true. You know, she's just assassinating my character. They tell lies to your friends. They tell lies to your family. They do everything they can to smear your character. This is when you know, this is a really difficult one not to swallow and not to defend yourself against. Now, in many cases, these can get so severe, just call the police and get a lawyer. Like, there isn't self-improvement that'll navigate this. You just got to get the law involved, all right? But in all 5 of these, the ultimate goal is to trigger that hurt, wounded, adapted, wounded child inside of you that hasn't done their healing from their own childhood abandonment and their own childhood trauma that they've experienced that created the attraction to the narcissist in the first place. And that's the greatest way to get us, because a child needs attachment to survive. And so that's what these 5 do. They prey on the child within us that hasn't been healed. And in a sense, it's the mother or father wound that they're attacking. Now, we think we're an adult and it's them. It's not. And many narcissists aren't aware that this is what they're doing. Some are. But that's their goal, is to attack the unhealed child inside of you, because it works. Because we were attracted to narcissists, that's the proof that we have tremendous wounds from our childhood that need to be healed. And that's why these 5 things are the best way for them to attack us when they know that we know. So what do you do about that? Well, 1, stop. Stop defending. A child defends. An adult knows their truth and their reality. So if they try and project and victimize and equalize, you don't even enter the discussion, because you're like, interesting. So my partner, the narcissist, thinks the sky is purple. Am I going to argue with someone who thinks the sky is purple? At least in my life. I mean, I'm 57 now. The sky's always been blue to me. Should I really argue with someone who thinks that sky is purple? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Am I going to argue with someone who thinks my behavior was worse than theirs? Is that my truth? No, it's not my truth. Well, because I'm not codependent, because I'm an adult, I can allow other people to have their truth. I don't have to argue it. It's just they see the world differently. Huh, isn't that interesting that your memory of it is that way? Yeah, I don't have it that way. Thanks for sharing. Boom, stop defending. A child defends. An adult knows who they are, puts up the boundary, allows the other person to have their reality. They act out of what's called maturity and moderation and interdependence. They never lose their containment. Children lose containment. Adults are able to stay contained within themselves. They recognize nobody can make me think, feel, believe, or do anything unless I let them. I'm responsible for that. So if I don't like what my narcissist is accusing me of, I get to decide, is this true for me? No, it's not. I'm an adult. I don't need to argue. I don't need to defend. Stop. That's step number one. Step number two, stop trying to figure them out. There's a level of in the beginning, if you're not aware of how narcissists work, yes, it's very appropriate to learn about them. Just to get an idea of these concepts and I'll get a basic background of it. But the worst mistake I see everybody in this that's caught in this dynamic is they spend years watching video after video after video that just tell you what a jerk the narcissist is, how terrible they are, how much they hurt you, and they keep trying to figure out what that, was this narcissistic, was this, did they mean this or that? And here's what they don't realize. The reason they do that is because they don't want to get into truth and reality about their own childhood. Remember, emotional mastery requires 4 things: truth, responsibility, healing, and forgiveness. They don't want to admit, wow, because of my childhood, my parents, who are perfectly imperfect, they trained me to be attracted to this. I don't want to admit that truth. 2, I don't want to get out of this childlike position. I want to stay the adapted, wounded child. I want the narcissist and everybody else to be the parent I never had. I don't want to take responsibility for my own maturation and be my own parent. I mean, that just sucks. Like, I get it. You want your parents to do that, but they never did. And you don't want to admit the truth that they didn't do that, and that's what created your attraction. And then you're going to have to do the damn work because they didn't. Those are tough things to deal with. And then I've got to go do the healing work. I've got to work with a professional. I got to read books. I got to take classes. Like, man, I got my job and my own kids and all that. No. Can I just research narcissists and blame them and stay the victim and never have to deal with any of this, never be moderate, mature? And so I'll just spend all my life trying to figure them out. I get it. I understand why that's appealing. But there's a cost to that. The biggest cost is you will transfer all of that to your children. Can you live with that? That's the question to ask yourself. Can you live with transferring all of your own unhealed pain into your children? I know I can't, but that's just what works for me. It doesn't have to work for you. Step number 3, stop engaging. This is the classic ghost them, delete, block, gray rock, all those terms. In other words, get off their back, the 3 gets of Al-Anon. Get off their back, which means quit hyper-focusing on them and everything they do, think, believe, or whatever. We do that to avoid our own life. So get off their back, get out of their way. They get to be as awful as they want. It's their life. It's none of our business. The only business we have control of and should matter is our life. And that leads us to the 3rd get on with your own life. All right, so when you get off their back and you stop trying to figure all of them out, and in the process of doing that, you get out of their way and let them mistreat you, or stop trying to change who they are and fix them, and get them to take ownership and get on with your own life. That's how you get out of this. That's when you get into truth, responsibility, healing, and forgiveness. You get on with your own life by doing the healing work in you, because that's the only thing you control. As long as you're focusing on them, as long as you're trying to figure them out and wasting all of your time there, you're robbing yourself of your own life. And that's why the 3rd get on with your own life. Get off their back, get out of their way, get on with your own life. You deserve it. You've suffered enough. both in your childhood and with this or multiple narcissists. It's your turn. It's your turn. I'm sad that the people closest to you were human and imperfect and couldn't do it for you. But it's now your job. Go be the responsible adult parent for yourself that, unfortunately, you didn't have growing up.